Never in a million years did I expect to enjoy a game based on Funko Pops as much as I did after playing Funko Fusion. When I first saw the trailer featuring a world based on John Carpenter's The Thing, I thought, oh, awesome! I've been yearning for a new Thing game. Oh, but it's Funko Pops? I felt like I was granted a wish from the monkey's paw. Well, the joke's on me because Funko Fusion is a genuinely fun experience that harkens back to the older LEGO titles, before they decided to go open world. There's tons of collectibles to track down, inanimate objects to smash, and a boatload of characters to play as from different intellectual properties. Before I continue, I should mention that I was given a review code for this game. My first for the channel. Isn't that cool? Rest assured that won't sway my opinion of this game either way. My thoughts here are genuine. Now, onto the review. Funko Fusion was developed by 1010 Games, a new studio based out of the UK. Funko Fusion is available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and the Nintendo Switch and PS4 versions are coming at a later date. I played the game on PlayStation 5. The story premise we have here is very straightforward. An evil being, simply known as Eddie, is making his way to different Wonder Worlds in search of crowns to corrupt everything and everyone he comes across. So it's our goal to collect those crowns before he does. And these crowns essentially act like stars in Super Mario 64, or the moons in Super Mario Odyssey. You go to different hub worlds, each based on a certain movie franchise or TV show, and within these hub worlds you have a set number of levels that you'll jump into and track down those crowns. Even though the story premise is simple, the real attraction here is seeing those iconic movie moments be recreated with Funko Pops. Much like the old LEGO games, characters don't speak and instead mumble and use highly expressive body language in place of dialogue. There are a few exceptions like in-game speech bubbles and iconic audio bites like But even with that, Funko Fusion absolutely goes for that silly slapstick approach that's admittedly very amusing. Also, Funko Fusion is not afraid to get violent. This took me completely by surprise. I didn't even put much thought into it when starting up The Thing hub world, one of my favorite movies of all time, and I didn't think, how are they gonna depict all that violence? And when I saw MFs get their heads blown off and arms ripped off with blood and everything, I was like, holy sh**, this sure ain't LEGO. Each level has a main objective you follow that will reward you with a crown at the end, but the hook is those side objectives and collectibles to gather all the possible crowns within the levels. Things like finding hidden chests, flipping a set of switches within a very strict time limit, or something as simple as smashing as many objects in the environment to gather this game's currency of vinyl pieces to then deposit into a machine that'll give you a crown. It very much reminded me of filling up my stud meter in the LEGO games. This aspect was very addictive to me because it just made me meticulously comb through every level to make sure I was finding all the collectibles that are unique to their respective level. Like a Scott Pilgrim level will ask you to destroy a number of Crash and the Boys drum sets, or a Masters of the Universe level will ask you to destroy a number of Orko hats. There's this little card with stickers you can pull up to check your progress, and it makes you want to get to the end of the level with as many stickers as possible. At least if you're like me and get that completionist itch. But ultimately you'll realize that you can't beat the level with every side objective checked off, at least not on your first playthrough. Because, to once again draw a comparison to the LEGO games, you'll have to revisit levels with items or characters unlocked from other universes in order to get past obstacles that require certain abilities. That's right, characters have different weapons and abilities, like you may have to revisit a Masters of the Universe level with Scott Pilgrim to use his ability of powering up an amp with his guitar that'll then propel you across a large gap with the power of music. Or you may have to use He-Man's power sword to destroy golden pieces that are immune to other weapons. This is another aspect of these games that really gets its hooks in me. The whole concept of trapping collectibles behind abilities that you get later on in the game. It makes me anxious to get them, and it's exciting unraveling more and more of these levels when you revisit them. What really surprised me about Funko Fusion is that even though the side objectives are copied and pasted in every level, there'll always be that challenge of flipping 4 switches within a time limit to open a chest containing a crown. There'll always be destroy X amount of objects, whether it be pizza boxes or rubber duckies, to be rewarded with another crown. Despite those recurring challenges, the game still manages to make universes feel different from one another in a number of different ways. Most apparent are their aesthetics and atmosphere. Yes, it'll obviously always be Funko Pop toys on display, but when you put a level from The Thing and one from Masters of the Universe side by side, the difference is literally night and day. One is dark and uses lighting to establish a spooky setting, and the other is bright, colorful, and uses some hand-drawn 2D effects like the way smoke is depicted here to call back to the old cartoon. I also gotta point out the use of iconic scores in each universe. I won't play them here because I don't want to risk getting this video demonetized, but hearing the eerie score from The Thing was an absolute delight, especially since the actual The Thing video game doesn't have it. Masters of the Universe was way before my time, so I don't have any real nostalgia for it, but hearing the main theme song from the cartoon playing when you transform into He-Man had me tightening my grip around my controller in excitement. But the most important way that Funko Fusion manages to keep the game feeling fresh is by having each level structured and paced differently. The Scott Pilgrim vs. the World universe feels like a fast-paced boss rush. Each level already begins with you confronting one of the evil X's, and the level revolves around doing some sort of environmental puzzle to open the evil X to your attacks. The levels from The Thing feel slower and are more based around exploration and tracking down items, as well as surviving the harsh Arctic. A standout level for me was one that had you igniting a trail of flares to follow to warm yourself up before freezing to death. There are other unique gimmicks to worlds, like Hot Fuzz has this investigative minigame where you scan a crime scene for clues. Some levels are based around escorting NPCs to a safe location, and the game just generally kept a good rotation of objectives that stopped it from ever getting tedious. I was happy to see that this game is chock full of bosses that are fun to fight. They're engaging in the way that a lot of them have a mini puzzle within the boss fight you have to do first to open them to attacks. Like when you fight Skeletor, you have to first put up these lightning rods to stun him, and then you'll be able to do damage. The one against Ramona's vegan evil ex Todd was hilarious. You have to line up amps around him to power them up to push them into buckets of chicken, where he'll then give in to temptation.
Chicken isn't vegan?
Sometimes though, fighting a boss will resort to simply shoot the big purple weak point, which is a little uninspired, but I did like that in order to defeat the boss, you have to summon these giant deluxe Funko Pops, and the two will then throw down, and it feels like a big spectacle. I wasn't expecting this, but the companion Funko Pop you summon in the Thing world is the figure from the poster. The one with the light coming out of his face. I thought that was really funny. There were times where it felt like puzzles and obstacles may have more than one solution, but I think that was just wishful thinking on my part. More often than not, there's just the one solution. Early on, I thought that this game may offer a bit of that Breath of the Wild philosophy, where playing around with the game's physics and tools it offers might lead you to a clever solution. To give you a simple example, in the Thing levels, you'll come across blocks of ice that need to be melted in order to open a door or something like that. You can craft a fuel canister in one of these stations to shoot at it to then cause an explosion, thus melting the block of ice. Or you can simply switch to Childs, whose special weapon is a flamethrower, and melt the ice that way. A simple example, but still, I appreciated the extra wiggle room for options. But later on, I encountered an area in a Scott Pilgrim level where you're supposed to use an amp to get propelled across a gap to reach this platform. But I thought, hey, maybe I can just craft a jump pad at one of these stations to reach the platform that way. I thought I was being clever, but then the game seemed to block me from reaching the platform that way. It seems like it wants you to reach it the way the game intended. Even though puzzle solutions can be rather rigid in this game, they're still engaging to partake in and add to the well-balanced gameplay loop of combat, platforming, and exploration. At its core, Funko Fusion is a classic-feeling third-person shooter that has tight controls and satisfying feedback. I was surprised when I took control of my character and was given free reign to aim, shoot, and dodge. I know it sounds like a simple thing to rave about, but I was expecting some sort of lock-on system, or soft lock like the Rockstar games have, or even some auto-aiming mechanic like the old LEGO games. But Funko Fusion actually has skill-based aiming mechanics that are really fluid and makes taking on waves of enemies a blast. Pair that with a swift and snappy dodge as well as the ability to freely jump and move around in any way you want, and I could do with a simple horde mode to put my skills to the test. There's tons of wacky weapons to use from different worlds like Mega Man's Buster and laser guns from Battlestar Galactica, as well as power-ups that increase your damage output, give you unlimited stamina for a short time, and heal you over time. The weapons you find in chests come in pretty handy because they do significantly more damage, and you can find yourself getting swarmed by enemies, and if they manage to kill you, you turn into a ghost Funko Pop and you have to fly back to one of those boxes in the level where you can respawn. It can cost you a hefty amount of vinyl pieces to respawn though, and that can set you back if you're trying to deposit the required amount of vinyl pieces for a crown. There are also melee attacks you can do, and they function very simply. You can just mash the square button to whack enemies away. There's no combo system or anything like that, though you can charge up your attacks and do a slam attack. The emphasis is certainly more on the shooting side of things. I really appreciated the ability to jump around to different worlds even if you haven't beaten the previous one. As long as you have enough crowns to open the door to the next world, you can just jump between each one at your leisure. An aspect some might find frustrating is that if you don't complete an objective toward a crown by the end of the level, the next time you jump into that level, progress will be reset. So for example, if a vinyl machine asks you for 100,000 vinyl pieces and you deposit 90,000 and then decide to end the level, when you come back to finish that particular side objective of depositing 100,000 vinyl pieces, it'll be brought back down to 0. Yeah, it can be annoying. Personally, I see it as part of the challenge. To once again compare it to the LEGO games, your stud meter won't save the progress you made toward it during your last playthrough of that level. The point of the challenge is to do it in one go. The same logic applies to every other side objective. You gotta make sure you find all of the collectibles to destroy before finishing the level. I did run into quite a significant amount of bugs that were annoying and forced me to reload to my last checkpoint. At one point, I got stuck in the level's geometry with no way out. Another time, one of those crafting stations was refusing to give me an item I absolutely needed in order to progress. I also just got straight up stuck in the item selection screen of one of these stations with no way to back out but to quit the level and restart it. This other time, this hold prompt just wouldn't go away. I also encountered some audio bugs here and there where music would abruptly stop playing, but I'm sure that's nothing a simple patch couldn't fix. There were also some frustrating aspects to the way levels were designed. You'll spend a lot of time scouring levels for collectibles and looking in nooks and crannies, and I often found myself hitting boundaries and invisible walls in places that looked like I could explore. I think they could have done a much better job of masking these inaccessible areas with road barriers, fences, or stuff like that. These instances really messed up the flow of exploration. Funko Fusion also has a co-op mode that sadly couldn't make it in time for release, but will be coming at a later date. I did appreciate the developers' transparency about this in a recent video they posted. I can see co-op play adding even more fun to an already enjoyable experience, so I'm looking forward to when that drops. I'll be the first to admit that I had low expectations when this game was announced. I haven't bought a Funko Pop since like 2015, and well, this game isn't about to make me start buying any today, but talking purely from a gameplay standpoint, Funko Fusion is a solid collectathon with great mission design, tight controls, and entertaining fan service. The game is a little rough in terms of stability at the moment, so maybe wait a while until those patches roll out. I don't normally give video game scores in my videos, but this being a timely review rather than a retrospective, I feel inclined to do so. I give Funko Fusion a 7 out of 10. Congratulations to 1010 Games on your first release as a studio. Special thanks to Sam and Carlos for subscribing at the top tier. You guys are certified superheroes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.